We're back at Hurley's, and we're going to have an interesting conversation this time with David Lloyd and Colleen. And David, what an amazing background. Can you just give us a little bit of background on who you are and what you're doing? You're rating books, you're Chinese medicine. Like I don't know where to begin.
Well, I guess.
But you don't ride horses.
I actually don't actively ride horses.
Okay.
Yeah. So what brings me here is Mary's a patient of mine.
Okay.
And Mary and I were having a conversation, and I always have lots of conversations with my patients. You can just ask them. So Mary and I were having a conversation, and she was telling me about the connections that people have with horses. Yeah. And I looked at her and I smiled and I said, "Oh, have you ever wondered why that is, from a biological standpoint?" And I explained a little bit more about that. And do you want me to go into that now? Or?
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
This is quite interesting stuff.
So horses are sort of a unique combination of a prey animal and a pack animal. So they're a prey animal, so they have a very sensitive area in their brain called the limbic system, and it's responsible for determining threats in the environment, and it's the emotional brain in a lot of ways. And they also are a pack animal because they use being in a pack to survive. Most, not all, but most pack animals are things like wolves or, and they're more directed toward being predators. Yeah. So it's interesting because what that does is it creates a real close social bond, but at the same time it leaves them very emotionally sensitive because the pack is a part of what allows them to survive. So they also, because they have a very developed emotional brain, they don't have as much development in the areas of their brain that we do as humans, yeah, where we overthink things. Yeah. So they are very instinctual in the sense that they're non-judgmental because they don't have the hardware to be able to be super judgmental. It doesn't mean that they don't discern between things. It just means that they don't get in their own way of what they're feeling. So as a result of that, they can really resonate with people really well. They can tell whether somebody's had specific types of trauma or, things like a lot of kids use horses for therapy. Yeah. And because the horses are designed biologically to be able to determine threat, yeah, and bond, it really, really helps people who need that because it's a very strong experience for your limbic system as a person to bond with this, truck.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to describe it.
Which at first is very intimidating when you go to sunflower stables and there's these huge horses.
Yeah.
I was around horses when I was a child, but I had a bad experience with a horse one time. Yeah. And so when I went there, I was quite intimidated.
Yeah.
But my first bonding was with two minis called Coco and Kisses.
Coco and Kisses, nice.
And they started to tell me stuff that I needed to learn about myself. Yeah. So I find that quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
With that process, when, and I've been to the farm too as well, and these horses come up to you and they make that impact, it's emotional. Yeah. Is it emotional on both sides, do you think?
Oh, I would say yeah. Because they're trying to figure out whether you're going to be essential to their survival, right? Okay. That's what everybody does. That's what we do. We do it all the time, right? Yeah. That's part of how we have like a social contract, right? And so a big part of that is the bonding process, right? And so yeah, absolutely, it's definitely on both sides.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you look at that, when you see what's going on, and I want to touch base real quick.
Yeah,
we're going to stay with horsing on Never Give Up, Conquer Stress and Depression. That's your latest book that you've written. Can you give us a little insight into that too?
Sure, yeah.
We're just all over the board here.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's the fun part, right?
That's right, it is.
Yeah.
Because you found this book. Where?
When I went to Sunflower, it was on the table, and I asked Mary if I could borrow it. I read it, and I was really impressed with the explanation about the chemicals in the brain and how everything works. I've researched it before, but this was really concise and simple. And then towards the end, it puts everything together and coping mechanisms and things, reminders that we need to do exercise more and dietary and
Did
have
this
a tribe
did this
around you.
help in your quest with the stables as well? Did all these things work together?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you-
And then after reading it, I thought, this man is in Ingersoll. I need to go. I need to go see him.
Oh yeah, we didn't bring that up, did we? You're just around the corner.
No, this is I'm here for the conversation. right?
Elaborate on all this. How did you get all this together?
I started learning about Chinese medicine and Chinese philosophy from my martial art teacher when I was about 12 or 13. So I went from there. I studied philosophy in my undergrad, and from there I went to Chinese medical school in BC, where we're regulated with physician status. I went to school there. I went to school for 5 years. I came back here in 2006, and I had been really heavily a part of the regulatory process to help regulate the profession in Ontario, and I helped regulate Chinese herbs federally. And when that was done, and that was a little while ago, when that was done with, I turned my eyes toward writing. And my patients, a lot of my patients, they said to me, oh wow, you should write some of this stuff down. And so I started doing that, and it grew into my first book, which was on cholesterol. Or no, actually my first book was on tea, and then the next book was on cholesterol, and then I wrote another book on the immune functions related to medicinal mushrooms, and then I wrote this. So I wrote Never Give Up, Conquer Stress and Depression, to explain to people why they do the things that they do when they're really stressed out.
Well, without giving away too much in the book.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead, yeah.
Explain.
Okay, so there's a part of your brain, there's an axis in your body. Part of it's in your brain, and then part of it sits on top of your kidneys, your adrenal glands.
Yes.
And what happens is your brain tells your body through various glands whether you need to prepare to fight or flee.
Okay.
And being in that state normally will save your life in a short period of time, right? So getting cut off in traffic, for example, being hyper responsive and swerving out of the way, or putting on your brakes or something like that, it'll save your life. But if you stay like that on a regular basis, the physiological impacts of that will drive certain things like insomnia, irritability, quick-temperedness. It dysregulates your hormones. So if you're really stressed out a lot, you'll have a lot of trouble with menstrual problems if you're a woman, or just there's a whole cascade of things that happen when you get really stressed out on a chronic basis. And there's lots of ways that people can try and kind of switch gears and lower their cruise control so that they're not operating at 100 miles an hour all the time. And that's really what the book's about.
And that's where the adrenal glands kick in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people overdo it.
Yeah. Part of it is that they overdo it. Another thing, and it's kind of neat because it goes back to the horse part of the conversation. The frontal parts of our brain are amazing, right? I mean, this whole place was once somebody's imagination, and so part of that is that you can imagine something so real that it's like it's happening, right? So that plays a role too, right? Stress isn't always just go, I'm at work all the time. I mean, a lot of people will stress themselves out over worry just as much as they will, running a marathon, right? So.
And what's wrong with running a marathon?
Nothing.
Okay.
No, hey,
I'm a runner, so I just wait a minute.
My better half just ran one recently, so.
Good, that's awesome. Colleen, share a little bit of your story about Sunflower and how you got involved and why you got involved and how it's helped you.
I got involved with Sunflower because I was experiencing a lot of stress in my life and anxiety. And I read an article in the Hub. And
self-promotion right there. Thanks. Appreciate that.
And I thought, I think I need to check this place out. And I worried about it for a while and stewed about it because of big horses and everything. And not sure I really want to do that. But finally I went and met Mary. And I've been on a healing journey to balance myself out and not worry so much ever since.
And Can you talk about your first experience with the horses? And we were talking about it a few minutes ago, but can you sort of elaborate on that a bit?
Yes, she asked me to stand at the gate of each horse. So, baby steps. I didn't have to like run in and grab a horse or anything.
Throw yourself on.
But if you chose to, it's there, I guess.
And by standing at the gate and grounding yourself, you tune in and see what horse notices you.
Yeah.
And then there's the interpretation, and that's where Mary comes in
Yeah.
in equine facilitation to help you resolve, things that are going on in your body that maybe you don't even know about. And for example, I was very anxious, and the one horse that connected with me, she had also had anxiety problems because she had been shocked by a cannon. And so we're both standing there shaking. And so with the tools that Mary teaches to ground and center yourself and meditate, by bringing myself out of anxiety, the horse also got calm.
So both of you shared that experience.
We shared that, and something different happens every time I'm there.
Yeah, nice.
When you walk away that day, you hear a lot of people today talk about that sort of release. Did you
Yes.
have that moment then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That connection. Elaborate on that. There, we've just heard that
Oh, with
Well,
the
with the
connection
anxiety,
between-
right?
Yeah.
Really, we just saw that she's explaining how the horse and her were both dealing with that at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of times, I mean, number one, like attracts like, right? I mean, people know that. But again, from the perspective of the limbic system, you will feel what they feel, and they will feel what you feel. And people do the same thing, right? You can tell if you go into a job interview or something like
Yeah.
that. A lot of times you'll walk out and you'll be, man, I
Yeah,
got
that.
that. And a lot of times you're pretty accurate in your assessments, right? So the same type of thing will happen with the animals. And again, that's why service animals are so important.
And I think what you nailed it was they're non-judgmental. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they
yeah.
don't care about the other baggage.
No.
They're there for you, right, at
Yeah.
that time, and you're there for
For
them.
them.
So
Yeah.
it's a
And they want you to stop and listen to them. They want you to stop and listen,
Yeah.
to take the time.
to take the time.
Wow. And yeah, that's a great point. And we hadn't brought that up today, but that is a really good point. Thanks, guys. David,
Yeah.
pleasure meeting
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Colleen, excellent work. Keep it up. And thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
Remember,
yeah. Thank
Community of Healing,
No problem.
Sunflower Stables. Any information you want to share? Quick.
Yeah, crane medicine. So if you just Google crane like a bird, crane medicine, that's my clinic. I'm always happy to take on new patients, and I love treating all types of stuff. I love treating all types of stuff.
Ingersoll?
Yep, in Ingersoll.
There you go, folks.
Yeah.
Give David a call.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.